So now that we've had a look at the website and how it's structured, we're going to start by setting up our own HTML skeleton. To do that, we're going to look at all of these tags, starting with doc type at the top. Then we have our HTML that covers everything, head where we put our meta tags and our link tags, header which is going to include our nav and that logo, body which is going to include all of those separate sections, and then of course the footer at the bottom. So back in brackets I need to open up a folder that I'm going to work in, and I've already created a new folder on my hard drive. So if I go to open folder and I go to my website folder, and I'm going to work in this one, ASUS video. So I'll select that folder and open it up. Nothing there as we had before. File new, Control S, and let's call it index.html. Just double check you're in the correct folder up there, click save, and we're ready to go. So just like before, we're going to quickly whip through and create our HTML skeleton. So I just paused the video while I added in all of the different tags here. Hopefully we're getting reasonably familiar with these. We've got the head at the top where we put our link to our CSS. We're going to put any links to Google font sheets, any meta tags we might have. Then the body with the header and the nav nested within the header, where we're going to put our image and the navigation list. We'll put in here all of the main content with our sections, and then the footer down the bottom. Okay, I'm going to start by putting in a title tag, and I'll just call this my ASUS clone. I'm going to add a meta tag that defines the character set, and we're going to use UTF-8 in this case. Now I'm going to set up our new style sheet, so file new, Control S, and let's call this styles.css. And as before, I'm going to create our default rule at the top, and I'm going to set margin to 0, same for padding. I'm also going to set my box sizing property to border box. Control Alt S to save, and I'll go back to my index, add a link tag, make it a style sheet, and set the destination to that style sheet that we just created. Okay, so that's the basics of setting up our website, and I think we're ready to put in some content now. So we're going to work through this website systematically from top to bottom. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is putting in this image and setting up our header at the top. I've given you in a folder all of the different images that you're going to need. So we've got that logo, and I've given them decent names as well, so hopefully they're easy to find. So hopefully you've placed that in a new folder. Again, you have your index and your styles in the main folder, then you have an image folder, and that'll make it nice and easy for us in this section up here to find the image that we're looking for. So in the header section, I'm going to add an image tag, source, images, and we want the logo. And then in the navigation section, we're going to create an unordered list, just like we always do for our navigation sections, and we're going to add list items. Now if we have a look at what's on the ASUS website, you've got products, what's hot, commercial, and service. So let's go back here and I'll add those in. Remember also we need to have some anchor tags in there, so I'll add an A tag within the list item. And our reference at this stage is going to go nowhere, so we'll put in that hash symbol. And then in here we're going to put our text which we want to display, so it's going to be products for the first one. I'm going to press Ctrl D 3 times to duplicate that line, and then I'll change the text that I've got here. So what's hot, commercial, and finally we've got service. So now I'm going to press Ctrl Alt S to save and launch my live preview just to check that we've got those elements in place on our website. So we've got the title tag up the top, we've got our logo, and we've got our navigation elements down the side there. Of course they're not styled yet, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So if we jump over to our styles and we add a new set of rules for the nav section, that's everything that's going to contain our list. We want to set a height of that. I'm going to set it to 60 pixels. I'm going to set a box shadow. So this is what's going to create that shadowy line underneath everything, and I'm going to set it to 0, 1px, 1px, and I'm going to set the color to this grey color, which I've already looked up, and it's E6, and so on. Now if we have a look at our website, you can still see that everything is not in the right place. We've got our logo there, but we want to have all of these elements up in a horizontal line across there, and we can use our float left property to do that. So if we go back to our CSS, I'm going to actually put in a property for the image itself. So that's the image that's within the nav section. I'm going to float that to the left. And then for all of the list items within that navigation section, we're going to float those to the left as well. Now if we have a look at our live preview, you can see that it's worked for our list elements. They're all floated on one line, but they haven't gone up here in the same line as our image. Now there's a reason why that's the case, and if we look back here in our index.html, you can see that this image is not actually nested within the nav tag. So then when we applied this rule here, image within nav, float left, it didn't apply to that. So I'm going to put my cursor in that line and press Ctrl Shift and the down arrow to make sure that image tag is within the nav section. So now when we go back to our live preview, you can see that that's working as we'd expect. There's quite a few things we're going to need to change here to fix up all of this styling. So let's start by removing these dots which represent the list items and creating a little bit of padding in between those list items. So back in styles.css, I'm going to go to my list items section, change the list style to none. That's going to get rid of those dots, and I'm going to add some margin. I'm going to put 10 pixels top and bottom and 15 pixels left and right. Quickly check our live preview to see how that's looking, and it's looking a lot better. We've got some space. We've still got this ugly styling, the ugly fonts, but we'll change those in a minute. Let's just put a little bit of padding or a little bit of margin on the left of that image as well. So back here for our nav image, we'll change margin to 10 pixels. That'll also help center it so that it's in the same sort of area as our list elements here as well. Now let's work on what those links look like. So we have to put in another set of tags, which is nav A, so all of our anchor tags within our nav section. We're going to change the color to black because that's what it is on the ASUS website. Change the text decoration to none so there's no underline, and I'm going to change the font size to 70%. So this is a relative font size. That means that we have to actually set the default font size at some point, and I'm going to set it up here, and I'm going to set it to font size 24 pixels. Control-Alt-S to save everything. I'll go back to my live preview, and now that's looking a lot better. We've got black, we've got no underlines, and the fonts are looking a little bit better. But the last thing I want to do for this video is add a default font, and I've already had a look through, and I think that this Open Sans here looks quite similar to what we have on the ASUS website. So I'm going to add that one, and I'm going to customize it and choose a few different weights. I'm going to choose the lightweight font 300, 400, and then the bold 700. As before, grab the HTML code, back over to our HTML in the head section, paste that in there, and grab the CSS code, and paste that up again in the asterisk so that it applies to everything on our page. You could of course put it in just one of the specific elements, but because that's going to be a default font for everything, we're going to put it up there. Remember also that this sans serif part of it there, that's the default font for the case where this special font can't be loaded. Every web browser has its own sans serif font, and that would be loaded in place of this one if need be. So again, let's have a look at our live preview, and you can see it's changed completely again. So that's where I'm going to leave this video. Hopefully by now you're getting really familiar with setting up our basic HTML skeleton and some basic CSS properties. It's really important that you do understand how all of these are working. I've gone through them quite quickly because we have looked at them before, but if you're not sure, you need to go back and have a look at Code Avengers to help you, ask some questions in class, but do make sure you understand how everything is working.